What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Crush City Territory. I'm Chandler Rome along with Tyler Stafford. And Tyler, we have some big things to talk about today. Ryan Gusto has a new changeup grip. Would you like to hear?
Oh,
Would you like to hear 35 minutes about that?
yeah. What grip are we working with?
Apparently, it's he modeled it off the Pedro Martinez grip, and
Sure.
he had been struggling against left-handed hitters. Pitching coach Josh Miller encouraged him to slow the changeup down a little bit because it was
Mm,
too similar to his four-seamer, and it's helped him against lefties a lot. I think that's the biggest news to come out of
hmm
the Astros today is that Ryan Gusto went 6 innings of one-run ball against James Wood, C.J. Abrams, and 8 other dudes for the Washington Nationals, and
hmm
the Astros won a game. So what thoughts do you have about Ryan Gusto changing his changeup grip?
Uh, I mean, first off, cool. I love grips.
Uh-huh.
Big fan of that. At some point, I'm gonna talk to Colton Gordon and his 80 different changeup grips that he's worked through this year. 100 pitches is pretty impressive for a guy that keeps going in and out of the rotation. Definitely giving me staff ace Brad Peacock vibes of a guy that can, you know, get you 1 inning one night, and then if you need a spot start or whatever, you can go 5 2/3, 6 innings, whatever he went today, 100 pitches. Like that,
All
no
right.
joke. Like that's hard to do. That's impressive that he is able to be both a reliever and a starter in a season. That's difficult.
It's impressive that I watched any
Yeah.
actual innings of that baseball game today. This bit has gone on for a minute and 45
hmm
seconds too long. We're not going to.
Altuve got robbed. Didn't get to bat in the eighth. That was his 5 hit game. He was finally going to catch Josh Reddick, but alas, he's
Josh Reddick,
still
Nick Kurtz,
hmm
Jeremy
he's
Pena.
still without a 5 hit game.
That is incredible. That's like one
It's
of the
so
most
weird.
mind-blowing stats. He has the most 4-hit games of any active player. Today was his 41st 4-hit
That's
game
stupid.
and
That's
has
so
0
many
5-hit games.
hits.
That's insane. No, we're not going to talk about anything that happened on the field today
Okay.
because it is just to set the scene because things are going to be changing a lot in the next 23 hours. It is currently 5:41 p.m. Central Time on July 30th. The Astros have not made a deal. I was told 20 minutes ago that nothing is imminent, that they're still working, they're still going through things, they're still grinding, but nothing is imminent. As always, these things can change. That's why I wanted to be upfront as you're listening to this. This is when we're recording 5:42
Mm.
on July 30th. But Tyler, today we did get maybe a little bit of clarity on where the Astros are looking and kind of the swings they're going to take. And I think the one that is going to mesmerize and maybe be a polarizing topic is they have engaged with the Minnesota Twins about the possibility of reuniting with Carlos Correa. It is something that Bob Nightingale of USA Today reported this morning. Dan Hayes, who covers the Minnesota Twins for The Athletic, and myself, we collaborated on a story that is currently on the Athletics website. And we can confirm that, yes, the Twins and the Astros have discussed this. All the reporting that I have done, all the reporting that Dan Hayes has done on the Minnesota side, and even what Carlos Correa said today in Minneapolis confirms that nothing is close and that this doesn't appear to be something that is serious. Now, again, I say that and things can change very quickly. Right now, 5:43 p.m. on July 30th, I do not think this is something that is likely to happen. But Tyler, it's certainly it is something that should be unsurprising to anyone that has followed a Jim Crane run team during this golden era. They're going to take big swings. They love reuniting with guys that they let walk away. And this entire saga is both of those things.
I mean, it's exciting to see those headlines. First thought is, what is his contract again? And so you pull that up. You want to give us the details of that because there's a lot of vesting in there, and I'm not from the Pacific Northwest, so I am not familiar with vests. Can you explain his contract?
Sure. So essentially, Carlos Correa is guaranteed $96 million. Like his contract is guaranteed through the 2028 season. So,
if applicable.
if the Astros were to acquire him, there's no getting out of it from now through 2028. Now, 2029, 2030, 2031, and 2032, those are all club investing options, which that gets into those can be gotten out of, if you will. But for right now, for the contract that Carlos Correa is on, he is owed $96 million across the next 3 years. I think a lot of things need to be talked about in terms of this. First of all, is the money. I can't envision a reality where Jim Crane takes on that entire sum of money. The Twins are going to have to pay some of, if not the majority of that down. That is part of our reporting that suggests that this is not serious, this is not close or imminent, is because the two sides are very far apart in terms of how much Minnesota is willing to pay down, how much the Astros want to pay, and whether that gap is closable is a real mystery. I'm not sure. So that's one part of it, is the money. The other part of it is, I just told you, Carlos Correa, the next 2 years through 2028 is guaranteed. Like they can't get out of the contract. You have a third baseman in Isaac Paredes, who, by the way, an aside real quick, the fact that this is even being talked about, Isaac Paredes is not coming back.
Yeah, he's gone.
Like, I mean, let's all use our common sense here. This has been the longest second opinion you've ever heard of in your life. The second opinion is magically going to be had after the trade deadline
Correct.
is over. It's amazing how that works.
Mhm.
So let's first say that Isaac Paredes is not playing again this season. I'd be stunned if he plays again this season. So they would be acquiring Carlos Correa to play third base for this team this season, which Carlos Correa is one of the best defensive infielders I've ever seen. I have no doubts he could play third base at an elite level. I would love to see his arm at third base, because watching his arm at shortstop is one of the things I miss the most about watching him play every day. The problem is Isaac Paredes is under team control for the next 2 years. So is Christian Walker at first base. So if you've got the thought, oh, move Isaac Paredes to first base, you can't do that. Jeremy Pena is also under team control through the next 2 years. So if they do this, you do have to wonder, like, where does this season, it's fine. He's plug and play him at third base. Where does he play after this season? Because, I mean, sure, you could dangle Isaac Paredes in trades the next winter, but he's fit in so well here, and was your best all-around consistent offensive player before he got hurt. I don't think and he's cost controlled too. He's still in arbitration. I don't think that's the way you go. Christian Walker, you could try to find somebody to take on that contract, but the way he has performed, not sure that that's viable. Jeremy Pena has been the best player on your team all year. Not sure. So you get my point here. There's no real place for Carlos Correa on the 2026 Astros.
Right.
But the front office is currently worried about the 2025 Astros. So he's got a place on that team. Before anybody talks about Isaac Paredes at second base, we talked about this in spring training. I'll reiterate it now. There is very little optimism from inside or outside the organization, from people that have watched Isaac Paredes play. They do not think he would handle second base well at all. They tried to hit him some ground balls in spring training there this year. From what I understand, it did not go well. I don't think that is a viable option. So that's the other thing, is Carlos Correa does not fit this team past this season. The third thing, Tyler, I have all the respect in the world for Carlos Correa. I think he is a hell of a player, a hell of a leader, a guy that would bring instant just jolt to this clubhouse and a jolt to the city. And I understand why they're thinking about this. He has a 93 OPS plus. He's slugging 386. 2023, his last full season that he played more than 100 games, he had a 94 OPS plus with a 399 slugging percentage. He has not been good. He has been a below average hitter. He's a below average hitter this year, was a below average hitter in 2023. That can't be forgotten either, that he's not the same Carlos Correa he was when he was in Houston.
I mean, he played 86 games last year and had a 151
Sure,
OPS
sure.
plus. So it's, you know, it's not like he played 20 last year. You know, that's a sizable amount. Looking at his baseball savant stuff, the bat speed is still there. Um, his expected batting average is actually relatively high. It's 282. What's his actual batting average? 267. This is a little higher than that. I mean, he's still been a good hitter there. The biggest difference, if you look at his like, you know, Statcast numbers, is his launch angle is down quite a bit. It's the second lowest of his career outside of 2016. And you know, his max exit velocity, which we've talked about, is um, you know, pretty indicative of hitters. If you know whatever your max is, you know that's kind of your raw power that you have. It's steadily declined since 2021. Um, you know, it's nothing like that jumps out concerning. He's barreling up the ball a little bit less than usual, but you know the raw stuff I would say is still there. He's not whiffing any more than usual. Um, you know, again the bat speed is there. It might just be kind of a tweak or an adjustment here and there that could help him out. But you know he's still a good hitter. Like even with a down year that we're seeing this year, 93 OPS, but like that's literally the worst of his career is a 93 OPS plus. Um, you know, he's still able to do that. So first thought is, yeah, on the 2025 Astros, if you plugged in a really good defensive third baseman with a, you know, league average OPS plus, that's very very useful for the Houston Astros right now. Um, as far as making it work, I mean, again, we don't need to dive down too much into this because I think they're still a long ways off. But thinking over the next couple of years, you mentioned, you know, Paredes is here through the end of 2027. Correa would be through the end of 2028. You could certainly see Paredes being a part of a trade if you're thinking of just this year and you're getting a guy that's controlled through 2028. You could see a way where, okay, Twins, you can have Paredes. You're already out this year. He can rehab, but you've got, you know, cost controlled guy for the next 2 years. Um, you know, that would clear up a lot of those issues there. Um, so, you know, you could certainly see something along those lines. And then the other thought is there's a lot of money coming off the books after this season with Rafael Montero's contract. You know, Jose Abreu's contract will be gone. You're not going to be paying Fromber. So there is money there. So the luxury tax thing would still just be a this year issue. You certainly could get back under it after this year. So I don't even know if you can do this when they pay down salary. I think it's like it's prorated over the length of the contract, right? Like the Twins couldn't say we're sending $25 million for the next 3 years, and the Astros can't say like, oh, that's all for this year to get under the luxury tax. Correct? It's spread out over that.
I'm I don't know the
I
answer to that. I
think
don't know the
that's
answer to that, so I don't want to say something on this podcast that's going to be inaccurate. So I don't want to
but
I don't want to say that is
but
true, but
the
like you can do a lot of different things with the money.
and the
Like
other thought is, you know, Isak Paredes is making $6.6 million this year. So if he was involved in a trade like that, we've talked about all year, you know, Chas McCormick, like that's the most that you could probably move, and it's $4 million or whatever. But I mean, you could definitely see a scenario where you move Paredes, maybe even McCormick, and you know a lower level prospect, while the Twins take on some of the money, and it working out. Because like you said, this is a 2025 solution that they're trying to figure out. The rest of it is future me problems, which is what I say whenever I procrastinate on anything. Is future me will figure that out. And the Astros could figure that out how they want to construct their roster next year when the time comes. But right now, you're in first place in the division. You're fighting for, you know, a bye in the first round of the playoffs. Like, take that shot. You don't get a lot of those. Um, take it while you're here. So, I mean, I definitely see why it's something that we talked about. And this is also what we talked about in our last trade deadline preview, is that every year the people that you think are available, there's always going to be other names that pop up that you had no idea were even available. And the Twins have already started selling, right? I mean, right as we started recording, they sent Duran to the Phillies.
Mhm.
So, and that's another guy that's controlled. I think he still has, it's a year and a half left on his contract, I believe.
Mhm.
So, they are willing to move, aging controllable assets like Correa. So we'll see. I
Yeah,
assume you already know and you're just refusing to report it. That's how people react to you on Twitter. Like, well, why don't you just say who the return is or whatever? You're just holding that information back, right?
you see, I make my living doing this, and if I'm wrong, I don't have a living to make anymore. That's
Mm-hmm.
what I'm going to emphasize this greatly. Please, 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 in the next 23 to 22 hours, please believe the people online that this is their living, that they make their living doing this,
Mm-hmm.
that it is their paychecks depend on them being right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, please keep that front of mind.
Mm-hmm.
Let's hear from DraftKings real quick, and then we'll get back to talking about Carlos Correa, and then maybe a more likely big name that the Astros are after right after this message from DraftKings. Nothing beats relaxing on a hot summer day and watching baseball. And the simplest way to get in on the action is to download the Pick 6 app from DraftKings. It's crazy simple. Just pick more or less on the stats for two or more of your favorite players, and boom, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. Nail your picks and you're heating up. Pick 6 brings upside with payouts up to 500 times. Pick 6 from DraftKings is the most fun way to play fantasy sports. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code FOUL. That's code FOUL for new customers to get a special sign-up offer. Better payouts, bigger wins. Only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
One thing we didn't mention, Tyler, and this is obviously part of it, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a hurdle if it gets down the road. This Carlos Correa does have a full no trade clause, so he has the ability to veto or approve a trade. Every indication I've gotten is that he would waive his no trade clause to come to the Astros. I mean, he still lives here in the offseason. Jose Altuve is one of his best friends. Lance McCullers is one of his best friends. He still knows a bunch of people here. That is not the issue. The issue will not be convincing Correa to waive his no trade clause. But Correa, as I insinuated earlier, Correa did speak after the game today in Minnesota to their beat writers. Essentially said that it's nothing serious, that he's talked to Twins manager Rocco Baldelli, Twins, I don't know what they call him, GM, president of baseball ops, whatever he's called, Derek Falvey. He's talked to both of them. And I think one of the quotes he said is, "I'll be ready for the next series." He didn't say where. He didn't say where he will be ready for the next series. But suffice to say that look, it's not nothing. But I don't think this is something that, as of this moment, is very realistic. But it's one of these things with Jim Crane. When Jim Crane is in charge and when Jim Crane is doing things, and we've talked about this, Tyler, when there is a big name out there and when he wants something done, it usually gets done. Now, as you look at the money and you look at how much he'd have to pay for this, that is also kind of an uncharted territory here. He has been long loath to running CBT style payrolls. He's run big payrolls the last 3 years, but none that have crossed the luxury tax. He was pretty adamant. Multiple sources have told me, throughout the winter that they had to get under the luxury tax this season. You saw what the moves they did. They traded Ryan Presley. They traded Rafael Montero. And after the Montero deal, Dana Brown said on the record, yes, this was for financial flexibility. So yes, they tried all winter to get under the luxury tax. Now, how the team has performed and the way that they stand in contention for the pennant and contention for a World Series, that obviously changes Jim's calculus if he sees that there's a legitimate chance to win. He has proven that he will buck his precedents. That could be the case here. He also likes Carlos Correa. He likes Carlos Correa a lot. I put this detail in the story that I wrote with Dan Hayes today. You know how many homegrown free agents have left during this run? Carlos Correa is the only one that got a 4-paragraph statement from Jim Crane thanking him for his service and thanking him for his contributions to the city and everything. Like, Jim Crane's very fond of Carlos Correa. So let's put that there as well. I'm also not trying to insinuate that Jim Crane is running the show here. This is obviously his team. He owns the team. He can do whatever he wants. But there's always been this thought that he kind of controls the baseball operations decisions. He's got influence, don't get me wrong. But this is the kind of negotiation, Tyler, where like any owner would be involved. If the Tigers were doing this, or if the Royals, like, their owners get involved when you're talking about taking on almost $100 million in guaranteed money. So the fact that Jim Crane's got a hand in this that's not abnormal. But just on the surface, Tyler, like, in the absence of other, I guess I'm wondering, like, what would the alternative be here? Like, are there any other alternatives that you can think of that are maybe smarter, that are maybe things that you would rather see other than this?
I mean, we've talked a lot about Willie Castro making a lot of sense. Another twin, somebody like that. There's not a ton of big bat splashes that you can go for. You do need some positional flexibility, but you also have a team built of positional flexibility. So, you're able to do that. The other thing that Correa provides for you is, obviously playing third base, but it allows you to, for the next, hopefully Jeremy Pena is back Friday in Boston, right? But, if something happens there, you do have a guy that can step right in and play shortstop, which you don't have right now. You have Dubon and Short and other guys that are just kind of filling in there. I mean, Dubon is obviously capable of playing shortstop, but that's not a guy you want to go every game with there, because he is flexible and can play a lot of different positions. That's the value that he brings. So, that's another reason why Correa can be, really, really useful there. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, there's nobody that you're just dying to have on the hitting side. There sure is a pitcher I'd like to have that I heard about today. You wanna jump into that?
Yeah, so this one I think is just as serious from the Astros perspective. It is just as serious of a pursuit as talking about Carlos Correa, but they are really, really interested in Dylan Cease, who is a rental, who is pitches for the Padres, who on the surface is not having a great season, has an ERA approaching 5. I think he's had like one quality start in the last like 2 months. He's had a pitch efficiency problems. The walks have not been great. He's given up some hard contact, given up a lot of hard contact in the air. But the one thing Dylan Cease does very, very well is Dylan Cease misses bats. Dylan Cease leads all of baseball right now with 11.6 strikeouts per 9 innings. His whiff rate is in the 94th percentile in all of baseball. He can strike dudes out. He sometimes takes a while to do it. He sometimes is wild. And if you get a particularly patient lineup that doesn't chase much, it can be a kind of a truncated outing from him. But the Astros have scouted him pretty heavily. To me, Tyler, there's a lot of parallels here to Yusei Kikuchi last year. Just in terms of, this is a guy that is maybe not performing to his career standards. You look at the numbers and you're not excited about it, but you know that it's in there. You know that there is nasty stuff in there. You know the underlying stuff looks good. He's also a rental. He's also a guy that, he's going to cost you a good bit. Don't get me wrong, but certainly not going to cost you in terms of what maybe a controllable starting pitcher would, a guy with multiple years of control. What do you think when you hear Dylan Cease and when you look at him? What do you think about him as a target for the Astros?
Perfect fit. Somebody that is gone after this year. We've talked about the Astros have a ton of young, controllable starters that are going to fill the rotation next year. So you don't even necessarily want to be bogged down with somebody that has a lot of control. Plus, you probably couldn't afford that player anyway. So this is a guy that is underperforming. I mean, I hate to bring up a win-loss record on this here podcast, but he is 3-10, 4.79 ERA. Like you said, though, he is striking out a ton of guys. He's striking out 11.6 batters per nine this year. He struck out 10.6 last year and finished fourth in the Cy Young. His walk rate isn't any higher than, you would expect. He's just given up a little bit more contact. But who's really good at taking pitchers with good stuff that are underperforming and making them even better is the Houston Astros. Yusei Kikuchi last year you brought up. He had a 10.1 strikeout per nine when he was traded to the Astros. He finished the season over 60 innings with 11.4, which is a sizable jump over that amount of time. Dylan Cease's stuff is nasty. Like he mainly throws four-seamer slider. He throws his slider this year 45% of the time. Would you like to take a guess? At 45% of the time he throws a slider, what do you think his whiff percentage is on those sliders?
I'm going to go at least 36%.
42% of the time. That's dumb. That's really, really good. Again, fastball has been good too. Again, both of those pitches have been hit a little harder this year, but again, looking at the numbers, there's nothing that you would look at and be overly concerned. It's not like velo is down or, the spin rate or whatever. Spin rate kind of stays the same throughout. But again, the point is that there's nothing that you're looking at and just going like, oh, this is a guy that's in decline. And honestly, even if you don't get Cy Young finisher Dylan Cease over the rest of the season, you get a guy who is extremely durable. He has led the league in starts 4 out of the last 5 years. He takes the ball every fifth day. He goes out there and can strike guys out. And again, in the playoffs, you need luck and you need, one dominant game can change the course of your playoffs. And if Dylan Cease is coming out game 3 and has one of his good games where he can go 6 innings and strike out 12 guys, which is not remotely out of the realm of possibility for Dylan Cease, like that is a season altering performance that you are just not going to get from many people in the big leagues, and certainly not the guys that you currently have that would take, your third start in the rotation. So I love it. That would be a great pickup for the Astros.
Since you brought up win-loss record in the year of our Lord 2025, there's a guy that's 1-8 and has a 4.53 ERA.
Nope.
Dylan Cease is 3-10 with a 4.79 ERA.
Nope.
The guy that's 1-8 with a 4.53 ERA.
Nope.
Jim Crane also loves him. Loves telling people that he knows this person.
Nope.
Does Justin Brooks Verlander interest you?
Nope. Love you, Justin.
Okay.
No.
He's available.
He sure is. Look, he is 42 years old. It's just, again, it's there. Yeah. If he wants to come over for free, there's a rotation spot for him. If you're asking me to choose between the two, I would much rather have Dylan Cease. Although I kind of like the vibes approach of just get Correa and Verlander and see what happens.
Yuli's hanging out in Miami somewhere. Go get Yuli.
You already got Hector Neris. Like, get the whole band back together.
Get
what
the
are we doing?
2021 Astros back together. Just don't invite the Braves.
I don't think you have to worry about that this year.
No, you won't. Well, you do have a guy that worked for the 2021 Braves currently running your team. So you would have that there. I did mention that Cease and Kikuchi have some parallels, and there are just we talked about the underperformance, their rentals, their things, the underlying stuff looks good. The one major difference is the Toronto Blue Jays, when they traded Yusei Kikuchi last year to the Astros, they were selling. They were not in position to make the playoffs. They had punted on the year. They were trying to get prospects. They were trying to get what they could for their expiring contracts. The Padres are in the playoffs right now. Like, they have the third wild card spot in the National League. AJ Preller, who is their president of baseball operations, this is what he does. Even when they are in the playoffs, even when they have a playoff spot, he can buy and sell at the same time. This is a situation where the Padres aren't looking for prospects. They're not looking for guys in the Dominican Summer League or guys that can go to Double-A. They're looking for like major league ready, controllable talent that they can put on their current playoff team to make it better. There's been a lot of reporting. Dennis Lynn, who covers the Padres for The Athletic for us, has reported that they are they've been trying to acquire Jarren Duran from the Red Sox for a very long time, and that's going to continue for the next 20 or so hours. They need an outfielder. They need, I believe, catching is something that they also need. Like, you're not giving the Padres prospects for Dylan Cease. They want major league ready talent. I don't know that the Astros have anything that is major league ready enough to entice the Padres for Dylan Cease. Maybe I should reword that. I think they do, but I think there are other teams that may be more equipped to give them what they want than the Astros. That is the big difference here, is that I know everyone lost their mind when they saw the return last year to the Blue Jays, but it was just prospects. This would be, you're trading off of your major league roster with another contender. Maybe I'm misreading the situation, Tyler. I don't know that the Astros have enough ammo for that.
What are you talking about? What about leadoff hitter Taylor Trammell? A nice, shiny Taylor Trammell for your outfield.
I don't think that's going to get it done.
Probably not on its own. I mean, if the Astros want to get real weird with it, they do have two catchers currently. That's certainly I mean, you don't want to give up one of those guys for just Dylan Cease. Did you see that play Victor Carantini made today at first? That
I did.
Backhanded pick. He's good at first. I don't know why he's good. He shouldn't be. I don't know why he's that good at first base, but he's really good. That's surprising. But you're right. I mean, the Padres have holes in the outfield. You know, you could see like a Chas McCormick and also like Jacob Melton or, you know, something like that where it's, but again, you're going to throw up at,
right.
You know, if you have to give one of those guys up.
And I kind of, I kind of laughed when in the previous segment when we were talking about, guys that could go in the potential Correa deal. Like, you're thinking about, like Chas and like Chas McCormick's
those are money throw-ins.
Chas McCormick's not been a good player for 2 years now. Like, I mean, other teams know this. Like, you're not going to sneak him in as like, like maybe they won't read his baseball reference. Like, maybe they won't look at his savant page. Like, no, like he's not. Like, if you're going to have to trade good players to get good players.
Do you know who has a higher WAR than Dylan Cease this year?
Who is that?
Taylor Trammell. So maybe watch your mouth, because their Astros are actually giving up more talent this season if they just did a 1-for-1 with Taylor Trammell. Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to give up, but that's one of those moves that actually probably helps the Astros if they get to give up one of their 5 quad A outfielders that they have, and if that entices a team, like, that's a good fit. So it works out that the Padres do kind of need just a body in the outfield, in the same way that we've been talking. We're over here drooling over Willie Castro, who is again like the Taylor Trammell of the I mean, he's a little better than that.
He's better than Taylor Trammell,
but he's not significantly. But my point is like, even Willie Castro, let me pull it back up. Willie Castro this year has a 0.6 WAR, again lower than Taylor Trammell. So it's not like you're trading for huge guys. So it is a person that could help the Padres as they are trying to climb to that. But the Padres are also smart and realize we would also like to have a Dylan Cease type in the playoffs, because for the same reason that I just said, he's been bad so far, but what if he turns it on in the playoffs and you get a guy that can strike out everybody? I want to see Dylan Cease go 7 games against Aaron Judge. Like I want 2 starts against Judge in the ALCS with that slider fastball combo. Be very fun. But again, the Padres are thinking the same way.
They are. Let's hear from our friends at Foul Territory before we talk about maybe some other deals that could be in the works, right after a message from our friends at Foul Territory.
Kratz, at some point, we're going to laugh about how healthcare was so reactive and not proactive. And we're starting to change that with Superpower. They believe every human has 100+ year potential, and they're here to help you get there. I'm a big believer in this. I just started the journey, so I'm excited about it. And what do you think?
As a player, you're always looking ways to improve yourself, improve your health. And this is an easy way. Superpowers made it way easier than when I was playing. You had to go get all these lab panels, and it was a long, drawn-out, expensive process. But now with Superpower, so this is awesome for me. I'm excited about it.
They'll send a licensed professional to your home, or you can visit a nearby lab. For a limited time, the FT fam can get $50 off an annual Superpower membership by using code FOUL at checkout. Just head to superpower.com and use code FOUL to get our exclusive discount. Your biology decoded, your blueprint activated with Superpower. After your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them, and please support FT and tell them we sent you.
The funny thing about this whole pod has been that I've just been like half listening to you and half looking at my Twitter and text
That's
to make
every
sure.
pod.
Well, I mean, that's every pod, but this one more specifically, like I've just been like going back and forth. Ryan Helsley just got traded to the Mets.
Mm-hmm.
They gave up 4 prospects for one of the better closers on the market. The Astros could be in the relief market. They need a right-handed leverage reliever, but as we've talked about and as we've kind of hinted at, they could put Christian Javier in the bullpen in the playoffs if they get, I don't know, Dylan Cease. If they get another starter, like they can backfill that internally. As far as some other names that I feel comfortable saying that Dylan Cease and Carlos Correa right now are probably, I don't want to say the only 2 primary focuses of the Astros, but they are at the top of their wish list. As we've discussed, the Correa thing is going to be difficult. Dylan Cease, I believe there are other suitors for him as well that can maybe put together a better package. So as you start to look at maybe some other guys, the Rays keep losing. Did some reporting today, and it still doesn't sound like they're going to listen on Brandon Lau. Is it Lau or I always forget? I think it's Lau. It's Brandon Lau. Yes, it's Brandon Lau, not Brandon Lowe. It's okay. Nathaniel Lowe and Josh Lowe, because we just saw Nathaniel Lowe with the Nationals. Okay, I talked through this. I'm good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Brandon Lau, I still don't get the sense the Rays are going to talk about him, but if Dana Brown calls them and gives them the right guy, then who knows? That could happen. That a rental plug and play left-handed hitting second baseman, that's probably the cleanest way to go. The Astros are still interested and engaged on Eugenio Suarez of the Diamondbacks. Tyler, have we talked about like how not great of a fit that? I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
Look, you plug and play him. He's a third baseman. Like he plug and play. He plays third base for the rest of the season. Then he goes into free agency. But strikes out a lot. Is not a good defensive third baseman at all. He's gotten better, but is not a good defensive third baseman. He's got power, can hit the ball out of the ballpark, is a right-handed hitter. Should also note that Carlos Correa is a right-handed hitter, but at this point, I think we're throwing handedness out of the window. Who, in a world where Dylan Cease and Carlos Correa don't happen, is there one guy that you've thought of or you've circled and like, man, that guy would be nice to have here?
I don't think so. I mean, at this point, it just has to be somebody, right? Like they're going to get somebody that is a slightly above average guy that can play, third base, or that can, provide some positional flexibility so that you can have Dubon playing third or, whoever. But I mean, they have to do something. But no, there's nobody out. Honestly, I was really hoping that over the last 2 weeks, the Red Sox would just tank and the Astros could trade for Bregman. That would have been really fun. But they, unfortunately, are in the mix. The Red Sox are not trading. They're 5 games out. So that's not going to happen. But I mean, No, there's really not anybody, and the severity of Isak Paredes' injury and the hole that he's left in the lineup means that like you got to get somebody that can play in those positions and that can fill a spot in the lineup. But I don't know what are the people on your replies? Who are they begging for?
I mean, Correa.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, okay. Let's end it on Correa because we started on Correa. How much is sentimentality weighing on a lot of people that it'd be really cool to see this happen? And for me personally, Carlos Correa is one of my top 3 players I've ever covered. From a personal standpoint, I would love it if he comes back because he is one of the smartest, most engaging, most affable people I have ever met, either in baseball or out of baseball. Like I would love him to come back. Just from my personal, for the job, for the story, it'd be great. How much do you think that we need to outweigh the sentimentality with just the practicality of this thing, of what we talked about, of they'd have to jump through a lot of hoops, there'd be a lot of money. And I had this thought today, and I talked about it with someone who is not in the, just I'll say it outright. It was me and Brian Bogusevic. We're just chatting the back of the press box today, and I brought up this. I said, if you're going to pay a middle infielder like $35 million a year and you're okay doing that, you've got a guy that's really good, that was having an MVP type season before his rib broke. Why not pay him? Like if you're okay doing it for Correa, like it I don't know. Maybe it just doesn't make sense to me, but how much do you think sentimentality is weighing in this, and how much should it weigh in this?
Well, I mean, a counterpoint to that is you didn't pay Correa, and you have kind of got to watch him from afar, and then as soon as he's available, you can get him again on your terms, right?
But can you? You can't get him on your terms.
Well, I mean, you don't need Correa. This is like, okay, if it's a good fit, it'll, because before the Paredes injury, that I would absolutely have said like, you're crazy. That's completely sentimentality. But now there's only a handful of guys that are regular, everyday third basemen. Correa's not even a third baseman, but you just assume he can do it.
The last thing I am concerned about is
he's going to be fine.
Defense. Like that is the last thing I'm concerned about.
But there's not a lot out there. So even if his name wasn't Carlos Correa, that would be a guy that you would look at. You're right. The money is one thing, but again, if you're looking at a roster construction thing, look, Jeremy Pena is not signing an extension, so it doesn't even matter if you wanted to pay him $30 million. You're not going to be able to for the next 3 years anyway. So you can have Correa, and then you can make the decision, do we want to pay Jeremy Pena a free agent contract or whatever? But you've already lost the ability to sign Pena to any sort of extension before he hits free agency. So it would be silly to say, well, we're not going to pay this other guy money for the next 3 years because you couldn't have given that to Pena anyway. And it's not like you get to bank money that, doesn't count against your luxury tax now and you can use it later. Like you got to use it anyway. And your team's good right now. So I definitely see why they're looking into it. I would be excited. And again, he's still a good player. Like you mentioned, it's not been his best season by any stretch of the imagination this year, but he was really good last year before he got injured, and had been good, in 2022, and then played a full season in 2023 that was not good. But even the worst Carlos Correa season, again, was a 94 OPS plus season, which is something that would be very valuable to your team right now. If it happens, if you can sneak this in here, how whenever they call up guys from the minors, they hide the camera in there and they do the, hey, just wanted to talk to you about the lineup or whatever. I want them to do that with Altuve and telling him that they've traded for. I want like a live reaction from Altuve that his buddy is coming back. If that happens, that would be very fun.
I'm glad you brought that up. Jose Altuve did speak to reporters today after the game, after not getting a 5-hit game for the 41st time in his career. He was asked about Carlos Correa, gave a very diplomatic Jose Altuve type answer to say he's a great teammate, has done a lot for Houston, done a lot for the city, and that he hopes whatever happens is good for him and good for us. And then Altuve was asked, I actually asked him, have you spoken to Correa since, in the last couple of days? And he said, not yet, maybe after the deadline. And then someone else asked, well, when are you planning to maybe speak to him? And he very polite. This is the first time I've covered Jose Altuve for 8 years now. This is the first time I've ever seen him end an interview. He did it very politely. He was laughing the whole time. He said, that's it. I'm walking away. So it does seem like the word has filtered into the clubhouse. Obviously, look, they're all on X. They're all on any social media. They know that this is a possibility. Jose Altuve did say that the front office and ownership have not reached out to him about anything. So mustn't be that close. But if it happens, it will be certainly something that would put an injection of energy into a team that I don't necessarily think needs energy. They just need to get healthy. Like we've talked about, Ty, like the best way this team is going to improve is its guys getting healthy. And that's going to start in Boston this weekend when Jeremy Pena is, barring something happening in AAA tonight, where Jeremy Pena will play in his second rehab game. He'll play shortstop. Barring something happening there, Jeremy Pena is very likely to join the team in Boston on Friday and perhaps be activated. Will he have a new companion on the left side of the infield? Who knows? If he does, we will come to you with live reaction on that. If he doesn't, we'll still talk about whomever the Astros acquire in the next now 22 hours before the trade deadline. As always, you can follow me on X at Chandler_Rome. You can follow Tyler at Tyler C. Stafford. Please rate and review us on Apple. Please, you can rate and review us on Spotify, comment on Spotify episodes as well. You can like the videos on YouTube. That helps us a lot. You can also subscribe to the YouTube channel. That helps us a ton as well. As always, we will be back whenever the deadline ends. I've got, just full disclosure, guys, I've got a very hectic travel schedule on Thursday. I'm flying to Boston along with a couple of other beat writers. We're flying to Boston at 6:50 p.m. on Thursday. So if the Astros make a deal at 4:35, we're all kind of effed. But suffice to say, probably won't have time to do just an immediate podcast after the trade deadline. But we're coming back. We do have one scheduled for Friday morning. Josh Reddick will be with us on Friday morning. So you'll be able to hear all about who the Astros acquire, what they gave up to get them, and the new and complete Houston Astros, 2025 Houston Astros will come to you back on Friday. As always, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Bye.